I guess you could start us, Carter.
In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've turned over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all people in this world haven't had the advantages you've had. He didn't say any more, but we've always been unusually communicative in a reserved way, and I understood that he meant a great deal more than that. In consequence, I'm inclined to reserve all judgments, a habit that has opened up many curious natures to me, and has also made me the victim of not a few veteran bores. The abominable mind is so quick to detect and attach itself to this quality when it appears in a normal person, and so it came about that in college I was unjustly accused of being a politician because I was privy to the secret griefs of wild unknown men. Most of the confidences were unsought. Frequently, I feigned sleep, preoccupation, or hostile levity when I realized, by some unmistakable sign, that an intimate revelation was quivering on the horizon. For the intimate reservations of young men, or at least in terms they express them, or at least in the terms they express them, are usually plagiaristic and marred by obvious suppressions. Reserving judgments is a matter of infinite hope. I'm still a little afraid of missing something if I forgot that, as my father snobbishly suggested, and I snobbishly repeat, a sense of fundamental decencies is parceled out unequally at birth. You can stop me at any point, mind you.
Yeah.
And after boasting this way of my tolerance, I come to the admission that it has a limit. Conduct may be founded on the hard rock or the wet marshes, but at a certain point I do not care what it's founded on. When I came back to the East last autumn, I felt like I wanted the world to be in uniform and that sort of moral attention forever. I wanted no more righteous excursions with privileged glimpses into the human heart. Only Gatsby, the man who gives his name to this book, was exempt from my reaction. Gatsby,
Have you
who
just been
represented
reading The Great
everything from which.
Gatsby?
Yeah, wait, you didn't. Okay, admittedly, more of the famous quotes kind of come later in the book, but I was going to wait to see how long it would take you to pick up that I was just reading the first chapter of The Great Gatsby. Anyway,
Turns out, till you say the
Gatsby,
word Gatsby.
Gatsby, who represented everything for which I am unaffected scorn. If
All right.
personality is an
Let's
unbroken
wrap
sea,
this
you know what?
up.
I'm done. Yeah, goddamn,
Carter
this
explains books isn't
fucking
a
bars
thing.
this smart. No, we could do. God, that would actually be interesting. Just do like crash course literature and do our own version of it. God, that fucking cooks at the beginning, though. What? Hold on. What is that line? Do do do. So it came about in college that I was unjustly accused of being a politician because I was privy to the secret griefs of wild, unknown men. Holy smokachino. What a line. God, there's been like, because Gatsby has become such like what's the word for it? Like it's become such a books book, like,
What?
since the movie came out and even before, just in the sense that it's like a book everyone has to read in school. Like, people are genuinely surprised the Baz Luhrmann film did so well, and I wasn't, because I'm like, everyone reads this, everyone likes this, and because it becomes this like, I think a lot of literary circles look down on it because it is kind of like the perfect young adult book, because it's romantic, it's yearning, it's got death and drama and suspense, and it's simultaneously written in a very like beautiful prose way, but still, compared to other great literary texts, it's pretty accessible. It's also like really good for like teaching someone how to read, because it's like it's got a lot of metaphor, it's got a lot of like symbolism, it uses a lot of figurative language, and a lot of it is a little more like there's a lot of subtleties. Like, I really love how they describe pale gold as a descriptor. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that, but also like the green light is a big, loud, obvious metaphor that for a kid who's just learning how people use language, it's like, I'm smart, I understand this. And I feel like people look down on the book because of that. And I'm here to tell you, this book fucking rips. See, that's how we do it. Crash course literature, but I sound like a Boston scumbag.
Yeah, you lost me for most of that.
And
Books are
yeah,
shit.
we were quipping. It's always hard to do these last couple episodes, especially when your teams have failed you so like spectacularly. To be like, well, I guess we're just talking about all the games individually, but like, yeah. So I mean, is Gatsby not a metaphor for the state of the Buffalo Bills, just constantly burning
Oh,
bridges and
money.
causing mayhem and running up a bill that's going to come due in a bloody, terrifying way just to reach a dream that probably is not going to make you happy one way or the other?
Yes, and
Anyway, welcome to Don't Sleep on Football. Carter here.
And I'm not well read.
Fair enough. You're just lucky I didn't get to the point where like I had to do character voices. Because when I came up with this idea, as I'm actively freezing to death outside, I was like, "Oh, what would I? I'll do Tom Buchanan as like a how did you get to West Egg Village? He's real gruzzly, and like Daisy, like Gatsby. What Gatsby? I was going for it. I was going to see how long it took you to stop me.
Maybe after a night of drinking, we'll just do that. Or
Yeah, instead of doing the episode.
the newest version of the Ghoul Scouts, Soul Scouts.
Yes.
And
Well, Ghoul Scouts are the age above them. That's like when you graduate from Soul Scouts. That's when you have to deal with Wendigos and stuff. But that would be really funny because the draft that's coming up, it has a couple interesting players, but not that many that I'm like super jazzed about. And I'm like, wouldn't it be funny instead of doing draft, one of us just reads a book to the other?
That would be funny. You read me the
Just
Great
pick a
Gatsby. I read you a 5-page picture book.
Jeez,
They
come
take
on,
the
don't
same
sell
amount
yourself.
of time. No,
Jesus.
This legitimately happened. Molly wanted to reread The Lightning Thief a couple years ago.
Which fair, it's a series now.
And she was like, I don't want to just sit there and read it. And she's like, if I read it out loud, would you listen? I'm like, yeah, absolutely, I would. And then she stopped for like a food break for a hot minute. And she's like, here, you read a couple pages. Oof.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna come to your defense. Like, I know you're self-deprecating.
No, I got through 5 pages before Molly's like, that's enough, champ.
Okay. Like, I know you self-deprecate about your, like, literary ability and your, like, academic prowess, but, like, genuinely, reading aloud is one of the hardest skills for an adult, unironically.
No,
Like, in terms of, like, because you just don't do it. It's actually really hard to read out loud to people in a way that's, like, compelling and interesting. And just that, like, gap of, like...
because I'm so good at presenting.
Right, you are a great presenter. You are a showman at heart. But no, when you have a like set text and you simultaneously in your brain have to understand what the words mean while still presenting it in a way that is interesting is really hard. Also, I didn't know we were doing romance advice, but reading aloud to someone is unironically one of the most romantic things you can do in my opinion. But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about fucking football.
Really? Like...
Right, it really is. Like, we kind of were banking. We've been really spoiled that the Eagles keep getting to Super Bowls during this show because it's kept us invested.
I mean, it's that. That is definitely a fact. That is a factor. But I feel like it's... I mean, this week was just such a... It was like a kick in the pants. And it wasn't like a bad weekend of football. There was good games, pretty even matchups, fun weather, and like conditions. So it was like really like what I want from like championship football. But it's like going into this upcoming week with the conference games. It's like this is so like there's no fun like, oh shit, is this gonna happen matchup?
Right.
It's just kind of like it's gonna be like, I don't think we're gonna have bad games or anything like that, but it's just one of those things where it's just like there's no like, oh shit, Eagles gonna do it again. Spoiler for this week, it's like we're gonna see Texans like have a chance to win their first Super Bowl. That's fucking awesome. It's just kind of like...
Right. Yeah, you know what? To the mission statement of this show, like, I kind of get why the NFL has gone all in on, like, quarterback discussion. Because when you're trying to get people into football, it's very easy to frame the sport as, like, these, like, captains, these commanders who are leading their men into greatness. And that has gone away. You kind of have to get granular, with the exception of, obviously Matthew Stafford, it would be a big deal if he won another Super Bowl. It kind of seals his legacy as an all-time great. And, like, each individual story is interesting, but it's not, like, as sexy and, like, as high profile as, like, what we've had the last couple years of, like, can Mahomes be the next Brady? Is Lamar or Josh going to get over the hump? Like,
And there's also the factor of, like, there isn't, like, oh, we going to get a first-time winner in the game? Like,
All
It's
these
like,
teams have won Super Bowls
yeah. So that
pretty
like
recently, as a matter of fact.
that's also the factor too. It's like recent winners. It's not like the 40. I still don't like the 49ers enough to put them in the ring. It's not like the Ravens and like the Commanders, where it's just like, oh shit, like while I'm not a huge fan of either of those teams, after the Eagles and then the Texans, it's my like ideal. I want you in the Super Bowl is somebody that's never won.
Right.
In a
If
perfect
your team
world,
can't win,
yeah,
add a new ring bearer to the pantheon.
yeah, like give me somebody who either hasn't won in like like since like the 90s,
Mhm.
except for the Cowboys, or give me a brand new winner. I don't like I'm like Patriots. So I guess let's talk about it. Patriots, Broncos is to determine the AFC, or yeah, AFC, and then Rams, Seahawks is to determine the NFC. All four are good teams and definitely deserve it, but I
Mhm.
think God, who won the Super Bowl like who's been out of the Super Bowl like talk
The
the
most
longest,
recent of this bunch? Well,
or who's
the
the
one who
least
I guess
recent
the
out of this
Broncos,
run?
because it's been like 5 or 6 years before since the Broncos. Because when Peyton retired, the Broncos immediately
Broncos, yeah, but
nosedived.
they won with Peyton, and that's still like a very fresh game in my memory because it was
Right.
10 years ago.
Yeah. Which is still a long time,
It's a
but
long
like,
time, but it's still like
right.
it's not like
Fans, yeah, if
40
you're a kid who
years.
grew up with this team, it is fresh enough in your mind that you had to slum it through your high school and college years, but now you're good again. You didn't have to wait that long relative to other franchises.
Yeah, no, but it's also it's nice to get a break from like the Chiefs and stuff for at least this one. It's sad we're getting a break from the Eagles too, and like, but it's like I'm not saying the Eagles have been like overstaying their welcome in that race, but I feel like it gets like pretty boring when it's very consistently the same teams.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
but
And also like I don't know. I'm going to be honest, the AFC bracket has been kind of uninspiring.
it,
Like, you know, the saving grace for me is that if the Bills actually made it to the Super Bowl the last two times, it truly would have just been for the sake of getting to the Super Bowl. The
yeah,
Eagles would have, I mean, we would have done marginally better than the Chiefs because we could run the
last
ball,
year,
but
yeah,
they
but
still would have skinned us alive.
no, last
And
year's
this
Eagles
year,
Super Bowl team
the
was just
Seahawks and Rams would punch a
absolute
hole through
trash.
us.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, none of these
these,
matchups are favorable.
and it's also the factor. It's like it's the two best teams in the NFC by a long shot.
Yes,
Fighting each other. It's like, all right, that should be a legitimately good game.
right. Like that's what's also interesting. Like if you went into if you went into the sort of preseason predictions, hell, if you even went into like the first 4 weeks of the season predictions,
Yeah,
like I guess people are gassing up the Broncos, where it's like good defense. Bo will be better in its second year.
yeah,
Like they're a sleeper team, but like the NFC, it's like yeah, Rams Seahawks kind of makes sense. You know, you're
yeah.
imagining or you imagine Bradford or goddamn Darnold takes a step up. I kept thinking all of these sort of like
Just
middle of the road
nine
are
different names.
quarterbacks who we grew up with. They're all blurring together for me. I'm entering the mouth of madness.
Yeah,
Help.
but it's
Um,
yeah, no, it's like these two teams are believable. It's not like oh shit, like what are they? How did they get there? Like,
mhm.
could you imagine if the Packers, like especially after the ending of their season, made it up there again,
Right.
or like
Right. If they somehow actually did manage to limp all the way to the conference title game despite going 0
yeah,
and 5 to end the year. Um, yes. But shall we dive into the actual games that we witnessed or the highlights and lowlights of those games?
yeah. Um, my crazy. This is my highlight. All I could think of, really.
It really is like the highlights, the teams who won. The
Yeah,
lowlights, the teams who lost.
pretty much because it's like all right, highlight. New England held their own. Um, a
Yes. New.
very strong defense with the Texans, but it looked like
Mhm.
C.J. Stroud had the yips on offense.
Yes. So talk
Oh,
a little bit about this
I
game.
will say, weather was crazy.
Yes, it was a very snowy day in Foxborough, Massachusetts. I will also concede that, like, outside the Bills game, I had to watch all of these with because the NFL will do the full game YouTube videos where
Yeah.
basically they show you all the plays, but they cut out like injury breaks and commercials, obviously, and like the little interstitial moments between snaps. So it gives you a slightly more streamlined. So I did have to watch them all after the fact because I was in a pretty rough state, as many a friend could attest. Um, yeah, it is honestly, it's so funny, like, because people make the comparison between Drake May and Josh Allen, and this playoffs very much does feel like that first. I'm not counting the year we lost to the Texans, the first one with Diggs, where it's like, oh, they're a good team. Josh is an MVP candidate. Where you look at the play, and it really is a team who probably punched above their weight class during the regular season, but it's still showing they're capable. They're erratic, make no mistake. Drake, it's so fascinating watching Drake May because he fumbled 4 times. They end up losing 2 of them and he threw a pick. But then it really is like every other draw, you can tell, like, he's pressing a little bit, he's trying to play hero ball, and the team around him is like good, not great. I definitely, watching that game, and it's hard to evaluate against the Houston Texans defense, but the line felt very shaky, and it really
It
looks like Will Campbell's still hurt.
yeah, they weren't they weren't looking 100%, which is part of the reason why it's going to be a little bit of a rough AFC Championship game.
Yes. But
But
then it's like every other drive, you're like, oh, right, this is why Drake May's probably going to be 1 or 2 for the MVP, where he'll just string together just 3 of the most beautiful passes you've ever seen. He'll keep the ball, like, he'll keep the offense in rhythm,
yeah,
and then he'll throw like an absolute dagger into the end zone to Diggs, or he'll throw this beautiful floater that gets caught right on the edge of the end zone. Like, again, it's fascinating. You like the accusations that this team hasn't really played anyone aren't necessarily refuted, but at the same time, they show enough great plays where you're like, yeah, but they're a good team.
yeah, no, they've done enough to, like, especially with this playoff picture for them, that it's like, all right, you handed the Chargers their butts easily.
Yeah,
Um,
that was a
this
non-competitive game.
this game, like, it was like the Texans offense was incredibly rough. It was wet. Nobody could hold on to a ball. It was a mess. But, like, you held your own against the best defense of the league,
Mhm.
which is, like, they got over 21 points. So it's like, all right, you did it. You did it above average, if not good.
Mhm. Yes. And here's my question for you. Do you want to do how we structure this? Do you want to do the highlight of the game and the low light of the game kind of back and forth?
Sure.
Because, like, here's the thing. I don't want to say Houston was a low light because it was not Houston
No.
who was the low light. In fact, they probably should have won this game. Going into half, they were only down. It was 21-10. They score another touchdown. They score 2 field goals. Like, they were only down. It was 16-21 going into the fourth quarter. By any reasonable metric, they probably should have won this game. They had 5 sacks. They forced 3 turnovers. They largely kept the run game in check. It was truly a 3 yards in a cloud of dust game for the running game of the New England Patriots. It really was. Outside of the big splash plays by May, they really weren't getting anything done on offense. And you look over and then you go, well, what went wrong? CJ Stroud went
CJ
wrong.
Stroud, oh man, it breaks
Where
my
do we even
heart.
begin with this man? Yeah, it's like,
It's like, I don't know if it was. I don't think it was the pressure. I think it was the fact, mostly a fact of he did not have his. He didn't have Nico.
right. I
I
I
think.
want to give him a little grace because, yeah, they were missing their top 2
I
receiving
think.
options for the
Yeah.
majority of this game.
Like, Nico was
But
out.
this was a really good game.
He was dealing with a lot lower quality receivers than he's used to.
They averaged
But
2 yards a carry.
yeah, but
How do
his.
you how do you even do that?
I don't know, man. But his the line was trash.
Yes,
Like,
but
that's a
it kind
clear
of
fact.
what's Well, here's the thing. It reminds me of the Chargers game, which fittingly enough was against the Patriots, where I'm like, the line is bad, but it doesn't feel insurmountable. I He had a quote after the game where he said, "I have to learn to stop playing hero ball," and I'm like, buddy. This was not a matter of playing hero ball or not. Josh Allen throwing a stupid pick into the end zone because
That's
he's
hero
trying to
ball.
like force the issue. That's hero ball. Where logically you say, it's not worth the risk. I'm going to either check it down or just like take 2 yards on the ground. Your first interception, you throw the ball probably like a whole second before the receiver is where he needs to be. It's a wheel route. And you just throw it like you throw it imagining he somehow can skip an entire second of time to get into position.
That's
It gets picked
Nico.
off relatively easily. Yeah, a reasonably good defensive play there.
Yeah.
Your second interception, you get tangled up and decide to just throw the ball into the air. There's no way you knew where you were throwing to. That's not hero ball. That's just desperation. I mean, I guess you could argue you're trying to be a hero, but like, you wouldn't call any play Will Levis made a hero ball. So I don't know why I would call it here, just because I like you. The third one, admittedly, wasn't your fault. That just deflected off a guy's hands.
Yeah,
And the fourth one,
I still have a
what? Oh,
problem
I'm sure.
with like deflections off of receivers' hands still count as an interception for the quarterback.
It truly becomes
that's-
narrative fodder then, because you can be like, he had 4 turnovers, and it's like, all right, well, the fuck? He can't catch the ball.
Like, yeah, that's like I'm not saying just in this situation, but like in general, like I don't like how that stat counts against the quarterback because it's just like, all right, here I go, and I throw it directly into the dude's hands, and it just like the guy touches it and then it just slips through or something, and it's just like
Yeah.
it's like that's so like there's got to be that threshold of like yeah, like it's how if you like on like the playground and stuff there you'd play the games like whoever touched it last or like if it falls closest to you and it's like there's one dude
It should count as like a fumble or an unforced error. Like, see,
yeah,
baseball has it
but
right.
it's like
The idea of errors.
yeah, it's like oh I'm gonna go for this and then you just like and then somebody's like runs up and just like bitches out and it's like I didn't touch it last. It's just like
Mhm.
it's like dude, it's clearly you could have stopped it, but you just bitched out. Whatever.
Right.
That's just
But yeah, and I'll talk more about that when we get to the Bills game because there's so much fucking. Of course, it's the Josh Allen discourse that really just eats at my soul. But like, and then his fourth interception, he just threw it behind the guy.
Yeah.
Guy was wide open, throws it like half a yard behind him, and the guy just picks it off effortlessly. And it's so funny because you can listen to Troy. Troy, it really is like interesting to see. Because it seems like there's a gentleman's agreement among commentators, particularly ones who played offense or played quarterback, to not necessarily go too hard because they understand how hard playing football is. Some times you just have bad games. Some days your accuracy isn't where it needs to be, your timing's off, you're seeing ghosts. And like for the most part, like the quarterbacks who do commentary are pretty patient with who they're watching. Troy Aikman ain't that guy.
no.
Troy Aikman, you can tell he is barely holding his contempt in sometimes. He really laid into Caleb this year.
Yeah. He was
But
not
this game,
kind.
you could just, you can feel him simmering up. And his final line is Stroud hasn't really made progress since his rookie year, and it's very important to figure out why. And then afterwards, Lovie Smith, or not Lovie Smith, he deserves to be the coach for what he did for this team. D'Amico Ryans just says, like, I'm not really worrying about whether or not we're giving an extension this offseason. And it just creates this very awkward situation where you really do want to get the extension done before you have to enact the fifth-year option.
Yeah.
But, like,
I mean, after this
you can't do it after that game.
Straight up, like as much as I love CJ Stroud, you can't.
Yeah.
Like you can't watch this performance, and he wasn't doing so great the previous week too. Like
They were winning in spite of him.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh win was going to happen with CJ like in his offense, but it was the defense that really just put Pittsburgh into the ground.
Right. Yeah, 2 straight games where your defense basically gave you the chance to win the game, and you're only able to take advantage of it once. Because at some point, it's like, at some point, a defense can only do so much. You can only ask a defense to hold a team in check for so long. And honestly, that last touchdown by the Patriots kind of felt like the dam breaking of, like, we can't. This is an insustainable amount of pressure that you have put on us.
Yeah, that was insult to injury, too. But, it's just one of
And
those
it's a shame because it
situations.
felt like the Texans were figuring it out, right?
Yeah,
Like they had moved some people around on the offensive line. The run game was better, and it seems like Stroud had calmed down a little bit. But now this is like all of the worst stuff. It honestly feels like last year with Sam Darnold, where it's like, oh God, all the stuff we were worried about is true.
yeah.
Like Stroud just, it seems like he's just developing the worst habits behind this offensive line. And you do start to
And
worry. I'm like,
I
if he
think
can't like you look back at his rookie year and you're like, so much the line was bad then too, but he was able to make plays out of it. And you're like, is he just too dependent on the disaster artist stuff? And like, if he can't hit that, he can't run this offense.
yeah, no, I think it's just such a matter of like there was so much wrong. Like I think this season in general just proved he need. I don't want to say he needs more handholding, but he like than other like quarterbacks. But it's just like he's not a guy that you can just throw on any team, um, and expect nothing like. And it's like, all right, yeah, he's gonna carry this guys, but it's
He's not a one man offense.
yeah,
And well, to your point, there's a lot of talk about there's a couple different guys who have been thrown around as like possible offensive coordinators, like Philip Rivers, Davis Webb, like former quarterbacks. And I really do think like it's an underrated position, the quarterback coach. And I do really think he would benefit from having like a veteran quarterback who's done this shit for like years to be in the room with him to sort of just like help get him better in structure, get better, like, you know, I know it's hard. You lost your two best receiving options, but it shouldn't look this discombobulated. You should be able to at least dink and dunk your way to field goals. It's tough. Like again, core of the show was standing for C.J. Stroud, and like we kind of get left holding the foot in the bill on this one. You know, we
yeah.
kind of look a little silly. And like I'm not going to try to defend him after this game. I mean, I'll point out that it's a team sport, and the whole offense seems like it needs an overhaul.
They
But like,
need
yeah, this was a particularly bad performance.
yeah, they need help on like the offensive line, the receiving room. I do like Woody Marks though. I like I like what that kid.
Unless
I
you can get a better option, you might as well run it back.
I'm gonna
Like
say I
I
like
would,
what the kid
yeah,
showed. I don't think
right.
he's I don't think he's bad enough to lose the starting spot unless if you
Mhm.
um pick up like unless there's like a top three person that is just like oh shit no sorry kid
Right.
like
And even then,
it's
it's
just
like, do you
business.
really want to do that? Right. And it also is like, do you really want to do that? Like we did this with Ash and Genti, where it's like, you really shouldn't you shouldn't overinvest in the running back room unless your offensive line is at least a B minus.
Yeah,
Because then that's just wasted resources. Like it makes sense for the Eagles to get Saquon Barkley. It makes
yeah.
sense for the Ravens
I
to
think
get Derrick Henry. Like,
I think
you got to fix the line before you even think about going better than Marks, who is again an adequate player.
yeah. I think they're like every running back room needs they need like the one dude that is just going to sprint full force forward and hope they don't die, and then another dude who is just quick and agile. You need a Cam Scattaboo, and you need more of like a Genty, where it's like the second that there is like a small seam, his feet are just going to take him through, and it's just going to be like, what are we doing?
Right. Incidentally, dang it, my heater turned on. It's okay. I explicitly turned it off. But incidentally, there is
Turn
one
off
guy
and
like
test it
that.
out.
There
That's
is
fine.
one running back I do love in this draft, and I am just sweating him going to the Chiefs. Jeremiah Love, the Notre Dame running back. I'm going to be honest. I was watching a collection of his highlights from this year, and he is one of those guys where, like, it is like if someone misses their first tackle, if someone doesn't get full contact on him,
You're done.
and like he gets a little acceleration, yeah. And I'm like, I'm not going to say it because in draft analysts have a bad habit of like overrating players by comparing them to certain players, but getting a little barky about it. Um, but yeah, and if he goes to the Chiefs, you guys will have to check on me because I cannot watch that man trample my team every year. But yeah, it's a tough one. Like again, the Patriots were the number two seed. They're going to the conference final. Like they've earned it,
Yeah.
even if it feels like again the AFC pool this year was a little on the weaker side. It was a little on the jankier side, and it is a testament to good coaching and good roster building that they were able to get just enough talent and just enough discipline to overcome the shortcomings of this conference.
Yeah, I think it's a great showing from the Patriots staffing, where it's just like that's job security across the board right now. I don't,
Right.
I
It
don't
really
think,
is
I
incredible
think
of
it's that perfect amount of they did not do good enough t- to entertain offers of like their coordinators being offered head coaching jobs or other spots, really.
Mhm.
But they
Right.
didn't. They haven't done like bad enough where they need to change the room. I think they wrote that like perfect line of you can have a completely returning staff here without any issue.
Right. Yeah, it's well, again, it's the big advantage of like bringing back enough of the Patriots guys who have flamed out as head coach. Again, they've somehow managed to get the Patriot way back in terms of like discipline and structure. Like it's so funny, and like we'll talk about the Pittsburgh coaching situation, but it's so funny that actually playing the hits kind of worked out for the Patriots.
Yeah,
Like, when you get rid of Belichick in your head, you're like, all right, clean slate, new vision for the team, and actually bringing back the boys to do another run has surprisingly worked out pretty well. Gerard Mayo notwithstanding. Um,
hmm
and it's also very funny thinking about all of those Tennessee teams who are good, but never felt like a serious threat in the playoffs. And it's like, man, it really does underline. Sometimes getting the really, really good quarterback kind of like paves over a lot of problems. Like, one of those Tennessee's teams was a 1 seed and it lost it was a one and done. And you're like, yeah, well, that's Ryan Tannehill for you. Whereas even and this is probably the worst Drake May is ever going to play in the playoffs, ideally. And like even that, just these big splash plays are enough to inoculate you and get you through to the next round.
yeah.
Anyway,
I
oh,
mean,
go ahead.
I was gonna say I think it's a good showing by both teams that made it through, but
Yes.
it's going to the question is going to be not even just like the factor of like the two teams that won, but including the two teams that lost for that division of or that conference of
Hmm.
how how are you going to go through this next year? Because I feel like the Texans have a very easy route to being good. It's just they have to achieve it, and thought they would have achieved it by now with like C.J. Stroud in his first year, and it's like, all right, we have a very weak offensive line. Let's pick up Stephon Diggs. Let's see if we can enhance it, and then here we are a year later, where it's like, all right, we got still just Nico, and
Right.
we have
It
people
is
that
actually
are
kind of,
body blocking basically.
right. It is very striking. I think this is a valuable lesson, and I do hope it's a lesson that the Chicago Bears and a couple other teams who like feel like they took a big step forward. I hope it's when they take to heart of like, if the rebuild feels like it's going faster, it isn't.
Yeah,
Don't trick yourself into thinking you're just one player away. This is still a rebuild. Like it's the same. I don't want the Bears to like overspend this offseason to get like fancy toys and like high profile signings. When it's
yeah.
like, no, stay the course. If you overplay your expectations, that's good, but that
There,
doesn't mean you change all of the other steps you had in mind.
you're gonna have like your coaches are gonna have
Progress isn't
interest,
linear.
but also there's the factor of you're gonna have people that are gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm willing to go to the sign with the Bears now and negotiate with them because of how good they do, kind of like your Super Bowl chasers.
Hmm.
But you can't guarantee that with every single person that is on that like Super Bowl chasing squad of
Right.
like, hey, this is gonna be a good get.
Yeah. Until you are in the conference title game and you reasonably feel like you could have won it, don't don't stretch don't try to like jump the line, basically. I think that's an easy way to look at it. Um, anyway, another highlight, and we can also bold out the Seahawks soar.
Oh,
Yeah, so
it was
again,
just a
I'm
total
very
ass
glad
kicking.
yeah, there's not too much I want to say about this game. It was basically over from the jump. I was in a state of violent mental anguish and very on goofballs and giggles. So I did not register any of this game. I saw it was 7-0 before a minute had passed, and I'm like, oh, so it's going to be that kind of game.
It
Uh,
it was just a
opening
bullet.
kickoff, yeah, opening kickoff, Rashid Shaheed takes it to the end zone. I will say, one note is, I think of all the teams that could benefit from, of all the teams that could benefit from this, like time off, I think seeing Shaheed get more involved in the offense. Obviously, they didn't have to run a lot of plays, frankly, in this
Yeah.
game, but it does feel like they were experimenting with how to get him more involved. And I think that is the benefit of having the bye week, where you're like, okay, we got you at the trade deadline. We kind of haven't had time to like figure
To
out your
work
place
with
in all
you,
of
yeah.
this. Yeah, but he kind of feels like the secret weapon that's going to decide these playoffs. Just absolutely, just blows by everyone. The kicker tries to slide tackle him.
Yeah.
Um,
That was a good one.
that honestly, that's my biggest highlight from the game. The combination of having the audacity and like, I guess I get it logically of like, look, he's going to score if I don't do this. I'll take the 15-yard penalty. But also, like, you could get ejected for that. The ref, who's a good like 15 yards away from the kicker, somehow manages to throw it directly at the kicker, the flag.
Yeah, that did
And I'm
happen
like,
too.
that is one of the two or three best highlights from this game. And then the game just kind of was over.
It,
You know,
yeah.
the 49ers gave a spirited effort. They kept going
Uh,
for it. They went for it on downs a couple times. They got a few field goals. They kept the spirit up. But this truly was just like, I don't know what else to say about this game other than it was a team at the height of their powers where their exact vision for how they want to play a football game went perfectly versus a team who has been held together by duct tape and good coaching for about 2 months
yeah.
now. And at some point, you just kind of run out of road for that.
Their Cinderella story is over. It's it's done.
Right. I can't even be mad at their performance because I'm like, you shouldn't have made it. You shouldn't even made the playoffs, and you were almost the 1 seed.
Yeah, no, they should have. They were so falling apart that it was just like, oh wow, like you guys are doing your best.
hmm Like, I don't know how you, again, I don't know how you look at this performance. I don't know how you look at them actually getting a playoff win against a sort of rival in the Eagles. And I don't know how you look at the season as anything other than an absolute win given the circumstances. Again, your leading receiver for this game was Jake Tonjes.
Yeah,
Like, that's not a win, that's not a Super Bowl offense.
yeah,
I mean, and you know, fuck me. Like, I'm glad I didn't double down on this take, but a part of me was thinking going into this game, you know, all the talk about how this is like the easiest path for the Bills, if not now, when. And a part of me was like, are we sure that's not the 49ers? Because what has the 49ers' problem been this whole time? They keep having to play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. They've been to the Super Bowl twice
yeah.
and ended up going against, you know, just getting outplayed in the 11th hour. So
They
I
either
was
get
like, maybe, just maybe they can do it this year.
yeah, they either get bullied by the Chiefs, or if they don't make it to the Super Bowl, it's because they were probably bullied by the Eagles specifically.
Right. And this year, the Eagles were eating each other alive, and the Chiefs weren't even in the playoffs. So it's like a part of me really did think this will be Kyle Shanahan's legacy season. He'll coach this team. You know, he'll basically rally the troops down to the line, backs against the wall, somehow rally, and then roughly by going over the game after the fact, it is roughly around maybe right. It's roughly around when they fumble on their second drive, and the Seahawks just kind of have a casual 3 plays. 90% of it is on 2 huge pass plays. I'm like, oh, it's over. It's over. Um, the Seahawks do kind of feel like the betting favorite now. They do just kind of, again, it's how they would want to play this. A furious, very quick, very athletic defense, elite special teams, and enough skill position players that it doesn't come down to the quarterback. If the worry this year was that Sam Darnold would turn into a pumpkin again in the playoffs at the worst possible time, their solution to that is, well, what if we don't give him the opportunity to do that?
Yeah,
What
what
if
if
we're
he
just
just
so good
doesn't?
at all? Yeah. What if the other 21 player starters are so good, so elite, all he has to do is manage this? It was honestly one of Kenneth Walker's greatest game.
Oh, he
I
had a
don't get Kenneth
he had
Walker.
I've always kind of liked him. He's bulky enough he can push through people, but he's still a very like slim
hmm
um running back. First off,
Right.
did
He
not
just feels like
realize what his voice was until after that game. I just went,
what?
whoa. I don't know what I thought he would
Is it
sound
high
like.
pitched? Is it low
It's
pitched?
higher pitched than I thought it would be, but it was
Huh.
just like it's like a still a normal talking voice, got like on par with like literally everyone. But it's just like one of those things where it's just like I was expecting to him have this like significantly deeper voice than he did. I don't know. Yeah, like just heard him speak for like the first time, and I was just like, whoa, like what do we
Right.
got?
Well,
Like
maybe that's, you know what? Maybe that's it. Like, I can't imagine what he looks like. I don't have a sense of his persona. Like, he's not a character.
he
And it
he
feels like he's,
looks
yeah.
like the profile picture they use in like his NFL picture. It's like he's so much more like he's not as tall as you would think, like based off of that picture. He gives very
He
tall.
looks a lot older than a 25-year-old, I'll tell you that much. I see why he grew his hair back, because when he's bald, he looks very old.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's also like he's like famous fantasy fodder because he never gets touchdowns, and it feels like his carries fluctuate with the breeze. Like, he's one of those players where I'm like, I'm just gonna accept, and I'm gonna like when football nerds say he's actually very good, I'm just gonna trust them and stop questioning it, because at some point you run out of room in your brain to question things. Um, they did suffer an unfortunate injury. Zach Charbonnet is out. My understanding is he's kind of their more reliable third down back. It'll be interesting to see.
He's their
Honestly,
like
they run
small
Shahid's.
substitute.
Yeah, and he's also apparently a better blocker. I'm curious to see, because Shahid plays in the backfield a lot. He runs a lot. I am curious to see how they adjust for that. I mean, I guess of all the teams, I kind of would like to see, I don't know, because seeing the Seahawks lose that Super Bowl against the Patriots did so much psychic damage to me. Seeing that get, like, corrected in this kind of, like, fun new version of the team kind of would be nice.
Yeah, I think if the Sea honestly, I think based off of what's happened since games and stuff, if the Seahawks make it through the Rams,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna be pretty much theirs to keep.
Right. Um, Yeah, and honestly, I don't have much more. Like, the 49ers, it really is just like, yeah, you're in a weird transitional period because, like, Brandon Ayuk is gone. They have explicitly said he won't play another game for the 49ers. You're going to have to wait for. You're going to have to wait for Kittle to come back, and it does kind of feel like he's starting to reach, like, the back half of his career. Like, you know, obviously Fred Warner will be back, but you're kind of rebuilding the defense from scratch, and you just lost your defensive coordinator. I think the biggest thing for me is, like, even though he didn't play particularly good in this game, I've seen enough from Brock Purdy this year to feel comfortable with the money you gave him. Like, again, if you can't have one of the great quarterbacks, you have to have a good game manager. And I do think, in terms of the game managers, he is up there with Bo Nix as one of the best ones of, like, athletic enough that he can make plays out of structure. And when the game comes down to, like, executing 4 plays as they were drawn up, you're trusting he's going to make at least 2 or 3 of them. And like, yeah, like the worry that Brock Purdy was just a system quarterback, I think is at least a little relieved because you're like,
Yeah,
the system collapsed this year and he was
if
still able to make plays.
I will say, there was a good part of the year spent by Mac Jones, who had a very solid showing.
Mm-hmm.
But there, it's a matter of. I agree that like Brock Purdy, it's like he was put through the ringer enough where as probably one of the front runners of this guy was just thrown onto a team where as long as you can throw a ball, he's set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've been
Mac
put through
Jones
the
has
ringer,
now earned
and
up. Yeah.
I can agree that it's like all right, he's earned enough to definitely be a starting quarterback.
Right. Yeah, he's earned his spot as a starting quarterback, and Mac Jones has earned his place as one of, like, the premier backup. Like, people are going to overspend if they have a rookie quarterback or they're not sure about their quarterback to just have, like, a competent guy.
Yeah,
You're a regular guy. You can throw a football. You're a competent guy. You can read a defense. You're a competent guy. Anyway, our games to watch are kind of the other 2 games we haven't covered yet. The Los Angeles Rams ended up defeating the Chicago Bears in a really fun overtime game, 20-17. You know,
Yeah.
what's fascinating going through this game is it was a defensive heavy game. It wasn't the best showing from either offense, and yet it was. Like it really was like both defenses were in peak bend but don't break mode, where like every drive it felt like teams they were getting spectacular first downs, and then it was
But
just
that
like
was
good
it.
tackling, a perfect pass rush.
They'd get the first down, and then it would just be like a show of whatever was happening for the other spot, like downs.
Right. Yeah, and it's fascinating because it started out. I was worried this was going to be the game where the Bears completely turned into a pumpkin because they drive
I'm
downfield, a really
so
strong first drive.
I'm so glad they didn't just absolutely pumpkin it.
Because that would have been such a fucking bummer to this season, man. Like genuinely, what the most exciting season the Chicago Bears have had since fucking 2007 when they went to the Super Bowl. Um, like Caleb kind of forces a pass, gets picked off, and you're like, oh fuck, is it going to be one of those games? And fortunately, it wasn't. They actually stayed like it was basically 10-10 for 90% of the game, and then the fourth quarter was this incredibly tense. Like this is where what I'm talking about of like every single drive like got past that first down, and then it just felt like both teams tightened up. It was really intense. The Rams end up taking the lead on a masterclass drive from McVay and Stafford. Honestly, most of it was running. I'm actually really impressed at like again, this is another example of like comparing some of the great offensive gurus, Sean McVay, like completely pivoting this team to being pretty run heavy when it needs to be. They end up scoring on a 94-yard drive. The Bears end up turning it over on down after about 60 yards. It's like, oh, the game's over. The Bears get the ball with about a minute and a half left. And if you thought Caleb Williams' last throw was the greatest throw anyone's had in the playoffs, he somehow did it again. And it so to set the scene, 18 seconds left. It is 4th and 4. They got about 14 yards to get into the end zone. Caleb Williams takes the snap, immediately pressures on him. He sprints directly backwards. And I want to stress, it's not like he's like strafing backwards, like in a Madden game when you drop back. He turns away from the play to run. And I don't know about you, but this is the one play I saw live, and I immediately went, no. Because again, turning into a pumpkin,
Yeah.
like the, oh, you weren't ready for the spotlight moment. Turns around, whips it perfectly into the end zone. I wish I knew exactly from where he threw it from, because he had to be, I think it was near the 40. That was like a 50-yard throw.
Let's see. I don't know.
Because it was the line of scrimmage was the 14-yard line. He sprinted back at least 15. He was falling backwards as he threw it, and it was about 5 yards into the end zone. It might have been a 40-yard pass. Colston Loveland is just perfectly in position, slips by his defender, catches it right in the end zone. And can I just shout out, like, I know there's been a lot of discourse about Al Michaels this year. Mike Tirico is so goddamn good on, like, the signature plays.
Yeah.
He just screams, they did it again! And I'm like, the crowd's going nuts. It truly is one of those how can you not be romantic about football moments where it feels like the whole place is about to explode from the players on the field to the commentators to the field itself. Everyone is losing their goddamn minds.
Yeah. No, that's one of those plays that makes football. Like, you know?
That's actual backyard football shit.
I was going to say, the kids on the playground, you know they're breaking that out the following Monday during recess.
Right. Like, that play is why, in spite of all of its...
Like, Chicago area?
Oh, yeah. Like, again, a city who loves football so goddamn much, but never gets good football. To get that play, to get plays like this throughout the year, to constantly be outgunned and outmanned, and somehow keeping it close. Like, again, it's like, it's funny because, you know, you're a big wrestling guy, and obviously wrestling has its warts, and football has its warts. It has a lot of bad guys. We lived through the entire discourse around concussions and, like, the physical toll the sport takes on people and all the highs and lows. Literally just this week, there was a story about a former player who was reduced to homelessness and ended up getting killed in his, like, sort of group. And it's like, there's a lot of warts about football. There's been a lot of hand-wringing about, like, will football survive? Will the sport, like, you know, will people want their kids to play this sport? Will kids want to play this sport? And then you see plays like that, and you're like, that's why. That is why this sport will go on forever, because it has when everything's clicking and it's just a little snowy and you can see people's breath, an entire crowd has been waiting for this moment for over a fucking decade, and
Yeah.
we're all sitting there shaking in excitement to see that moment. Like that's I don't it's beyond words, even though I talk a lot. And what's
Yeah.
crazy is they didn't even win the game, and yet we're
No.
all excited about it. They end up having an opportunity to win the game. They're driving downfield. It feels like the team of destiny. And unfortunately, they throw an interception. People are really hard on DJ Moore about this, and it's kind of the catch-20, which is weird because like literally 3 plays before he made this incredible pass that was behind him. It could have gotten picked off. He ends up catching it and getting like a first down. And it is just, it's a catch-22 with DJ Moore. Infinite talent, dynamic playmaking, but every now and then he's going to dog a route or he's going to be a little out of
Something's
position
gonna.
and catastrophe can strike.
Yeah. Nah. It was.
The,
It was still
yeah,
a good showing overall, and
yeah,
I feel like Bears fans have nothing more than just to be proud because Caleb was what number pick
#1, baby.
2 years ago. So and last year they were in the division from hell for them.
Right. Last year, it looked like there was no sunlight. Their offensive coordinator and their head coach got fired. Caleb's, like, multiple players seemed like they had already checked out before November. They had had 3 of the, like, most disastrous endings to football games you could possibly have. Literally, the exact opposite energy compared to this year.
Yeah. So.
And still, by any reasonable metric, you could have made it to the NFC title game this year.
Yep. No, so
And, yeah,
it's such a good showing from them that it's like they have nothing to be upset about. Like
right.
take like it's kind of it's kind of one of those situations where it's just like the clock ran out on this Cinderella story run.
Hmm.
Great job. Go rest up. We'll see you in a couple
Right.
months.
It's funny because Ben Johnson obviously was a former Lions coordinator. And, like, the thing Dan Campbell kept saying after that 49ers loss in the title game was, like, this might have been it. We don't know if we're going to get back here. We're going to try like hell, but you got to appreciate the moments when they come. And I think about that as I'm thinking about this Bears team. But then I remember, I think this Bears team punched several classes above its weight class.
Oh,
I still
absolutely.
think the defense is just fine. It's not very good. There's still a lot they can advance in the run game. The offensive line is still inconsistent. Like,
This
and Caleb's still only completing like 50% of his passes. There's so much room for growth here. If even one part grows, this team could be even better.
if I had to rank all 32 teams, I would argue that the Bears are very close in the 15 to 20 range. I
Hmm.
think there's still a lot, but like they're taking down and putting up good fights against top 10 if and top 5 teams.
Right. And as for the Rams, look, obviously they're the not the, they're the betting favorite is Seattle.
Yeah.
And like this was a not great game from the Rams.
No.
Particularly their first drive, their one drive in overtime before they got to kick the field goal was a 3-and-out where they ran the ball 3 times. It was not the best coached game. Stafford was inconsistent. Like the pressure got to him a lot. And I'm like, I feel like, they kind of underperformed in both of their playoff games. And I'm like, are we forgetting their upside though? Again, like they beat the Seahawks once. They
They
should have
beat
beaten them a second time.
Yeah, they've
I'm
played.
not betting. Yeah.
This is a rematch, like a rematch again
Mhm.
for the third time this 3 times in 3 months straight up. It's a November game, a December game, and now a January game.
Right.
But it has been these tight games, and they're both 1-1,
Hmm.
and they didn't have any crazy injuries or anything like that. So I'm thinking we're gonna get a fun
Right.
a fun game to watch at least.
Oh, yeah. And again, like talking about 3 straight run plays to almost cost you the game, I don't think McVay is going to have another stinker like that where I'm like, he's due for a game where he just coaches circles around someone. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm not betting them out.
No,
I
no,
almost feel
I
bad because as much I love Stafford and I love the Seahawks, I kind of don't want to see either of them lose.
I have no idea. Like I'm leaning towards the Seahawks winning because their
Hmm.
offense to defense ratio is a little bit more dominant.
Yeah.
But it's not enough to be like, oh, if these guys lose fire everybody. It's just like, no, I'm thinking that they should win, but I don't have any data background, like any ability to be like, this is a fact.
Right, right. Yeah, I don't know, it's curious. I guess, like, well, do we want to talk about the NFC game? Well, no, we should probably finish talking about. Do you want to get your words out about the Broncos Bills game before I do my whole sad boy shtick?
Yeah, I'll give you 2 minutes, by the way, so give you a little bit to prep. Broncos Bills, solid game, heartbreaking ending, honestly, because it's questionable calls once again. But honestly, like, yeah, both teams deserve to go forward. My biggest issue through this whole thing is Bo Nix is now done for the season.
Oh yeah, we should probably just lead with that, huh? Yeah. So Sean Payton gets on the mic immediately and goes, "Hey, we should probably just get this out of the way. Bo broke his ankle on that last designed run,
Yeah,
so
he broke his ankle, and I was talking about it with my mother, who was also very upset the Bills lost. Um, which I was like, this is weird coming from you. And it's not like she's a
mhm.
Broncos fan. I was just like, all right, this is a weird take for you to have out of nowhere. But it's one of those
Knicks
things that
Knicks
it's
for
just,
the season. Well done, Kevin.
thank you.
Well done.
It's one of those things where it's just like, man, like if Bo Nix was in it, I'd be a lot more excited about the AFC game. But no, he is getting replaced by his backup, Mr. Five starts to overall, and I think only one of them was a win. Jared Stidham. And
Um,
one of those things where it's just like I feel like that just took out so much energy from the Uma Musume, like the silliness that is this Bo leaving Denver Broncos, and it's just like, yeah, and now we're gonna finish the season with this guy, and like Nick Foles did it with the Eagles and a couple of years back, but it was
right,
also
but he
like
had a run up.
he had a run up and he was like he had a solid record before like being like called up and to be like, all right, it's like you have he had at least enough gusto behind him to prove it's
People
like
forget
he's
he
a
had
good
a year
choice.
where he went like what was it, 27 touchdowns to 2 interceptions.
Something
Like
like
he
that.
had it
He had a
right,
pedigree. He had a pedigree. That's
where
what
you're at least like I've seen this man play good football games before.
So yeah, great choice. Like
Can he win a Super Bowl?
that was
I
a
guess we'll
question,
find out.
and it was answered yes. But
The answer was apparently yes.
like this is putting Stidham as like who's got not a great record of starts. The Broncos isn't a good enough team that you just need to replace. It's like, oh yeah, we could just swap in another quarterback and he's set. It's like, no, there's a little bit more to the Broncos than that. They're not like the 49ers when Brock Purdy got thrown on. Um,
Mhm.
and it's like,
Right, because that's Bo Nix. Like
yeah,
Bo Nix is the elevated version of that, where it's like he is just good enough to elevate a pretty good group of skill position
yeah,
players. Like again, they're not world beaters. Like
no,
as many pointed out, there are 3 wide receivers on this team who'd be number one on the Bills. But like it's a lot of B minuses elevated by a solid, like reliable quarterback.
yeah. Cortland Sutton,
And now you don't have
yeah,
that.
Sutton's not the world's best receiver, but he's still good. You got Mims, same situation. You have Harvey in the running back room, pretty much the same situation where it's just like that they could use enough enhancement talent to do this. Like that, I don't. You can't guarantee they would all have starting jobs at every single team they went to. Like unlike some other players, but it's like, all right, you guys together at least work because you're all this level of not bad that it meshes
Yeah,
very well.
it's
And your defense is good.
right. Yeah. Well, no, they played this game literally perfectly. This was the only way they could win this game of like precise game management. Honestly, if anything, they should like they had to pivot off of running the ball and they pivoted incredibly
Yeah.
into just like a rhythm passing game. They you know, they got they won the turnover battle. The defense held just enough times. Like again, when when you have a game management quarterback and you're built around the defense, it really is a game of managing. You're going to have rough quarters. You're going to have quarters where you can't buy a field goal. But like it's about weathering those storms and holding the other team just enough that when it comes down to it literally came down to effectively two plays for the Broncos offense. Both times a Bills cornerback had to sit because they had just gotten injured. They had to miss one play and they targeted that guy twice and won both times. And I know Bo Nix can do that. He's really good at doing that. Like executing those, like I said, there'll be 4 plays that you got to make. You got to make at least 3 of them. I don't know if Jared Stidham can do that because we have so little footage on him.
Yeah. So little footage.
My only, yeah,
So
my only, my only compliment, like my only saving grace is Sean Payton is a fucking psychopath. That man
yeah.
won multiple games with Taysom Hill as his starting quarterback. Like literally
That's its
taking
own
snaps
level
from
of
under
impression.
center. Right. Drew Brees had a noodle arm for like the last 3-ish years there, and he was still making one of the best offenses in the NFL. He's like the amount he's gotten out of. He's the fucking lunatic who goes, "I'm going to kick on sides to start a half of the Super Bowl. I'm going to roll the
Hell yeah.
dice and possibly cost my team the game." This man is a lunatic. Every time he falls asleep, he sees that Minneapolis Miracle. He sees that no call against the Rams that cost them that game. He wants that second Super Bowl so fucking bad. He had a fucking bounty program. This man is insane. There's nothing he won't do to win a football game.
Yeah. No.
And I'm like, if one guy is somehow going to pull this off from a coaching standpoint, it's
him.
probably going to be him.
He's just crazy enough it might work.
Like, if he gets that second Super Bowl, that is immortal. Like, there's a lot of pretty good coaches who have won Super Bowl. There's a lot of quarterbacks who have won Super Bowl. That second one, that's immortality. That's not a fluke. That's how you ascend to the pantheon. And this man might, if it came down to strangling a homeless man to death to get that, I'm not 100% sure he wouldn't do it.
No, what happened?
I'm not going to accuse him of anything, but there would be discussions in his head.
So here's what happened. I actually had I got leaked locker room footage directly from his office. The owner actually went to tell him about Bo Nix's ankle because he was a little bit worried for his player, and he was like, "I got to stay out of this. I don't want to get dayballed, things like that." And then they told him, and for some reason, it all of a sudden went from color to black and white. And he's just like, "You're telling me I don't have my star?" And it's like, well, we're going to have to start making some changes around here. And the owner was like, "I can't let you do that.
The only
You're
color
gonna
is
go."
the blood that's
Yeah.
dripping from his gums.
Yeah, it's like, "I can't let you do that. You're a good head coach. We can't have anything to this." And then he puts down his gun and his badge and just like, "I got to go rogue for us." And slides his gun and his badge across the table. And then the owner is just like, "Why do you have a gun and a badge? You're a football head coach. Why are you carrying this around?" And he's
Most
like,
coaches don't carry a badge and gun.
yeah. He puts on a trench coat and his somehow already wet hat, and he's just like, "Oh, we're gonna show him."
Yeah,
That's how it went.
I kind of want it. I'm gonna be real. I kind of want to see him pull it off. Maybe because it'll make me feel. I don't know if it'd make me feel better or worse if the
I
team that
also
beats you
love-
wins the Super Bowl.
I mean,
but
yeah, I
also,
would
I
say
think
that does
the
make you
discourse
feel
around Jared
better.
Stidham winning a Super Bowl would actually shatter people's brains.
I
With how like quarterback obsessed the discourse is, I think it might actually kill some
I
people.
also love just the fucking whole world of Uma Musume, the fucking anime horse girl racing game. Just diving into
That's the
Broncos
part.
Country Let's Ride.
I think that's the
And
part where I'm
I
like,
want them-
how?
I want them to
I think-
get
yeah.
the Super Bowl and win it so badly just for this silliness storyline.
Something about seeing them posting after the game was when I went, how much marijuana, like how many gummies can I consume without killing myself? The limit might not exist. There's only
was-
one way to find out.
I was stone cold sober here for it because I was just like, yes, this is You are
Were you
taking
on?
the
Were
most
you on the
opposite.
mic? Were you on Discord when I was like crashing out?
Possibly. Well,
Yeah, it was not a. It was not a healthy
yeah,
place, Chief.
no, but I want the polar opposite fandoms of football fans and
Or sentient horse girls.
sentient horse girl fans. Sentient
Is
horse
this like
girl
a good
cosplayers.
anime?
It's a game.
I can never tell if
It's a
they're
game.
supposed to be good or not. It's a game?
It's a game.
What? Since when?
The
Is it
entire
good?
time. It actually has a very huge following. I
I
know a
think that's
couple
a part of my
people that
problem with
play it.
like dipping into anime. I can't tell what's actually good and what's taking the piss. Like
I
what are
mean,
people being ironic about?
there's levels of subjectiveness and stuff, obviously, but
Fair.
that I feel like that's a discussion with Cal at a later time. Anyway,
Fair enough.
you want your 2 minutes to talk about the Bills? You know what? I'll be generous. 2:30.
I mean, what can you really say? It just, the season started with our general manager calling into local talk radio and saying that it was bitching to complain about the wide receiver room, that his job was to fix the defense. Because our offense scores 30
I
points a game.
forgot
It's
about
that we
that.
need our defense to not give up 30 points a game. I sure haven't. I keep receipts. It's all carved into my heart. Sure enough, our offense does score 30 points, and our defense gives up 33. I the turnover discourse is slowly going to eat away at me. And I mean, that's a separate subject in its own. But it really is just so fitting that all of this discourse about whether or not this team is talented enough, whether or not this team is good enough, and the one guy who seemingly understood that, apparently there was a meeting a few weeks ago where Sean McDermott pointed out that this team was much less talented than the last few they've had. The money being spread out very poorly, a lot of big contracts going to guys who are just okay, and apparently both Terry Pagula and Brandon Bean took umbrage with that, which seems to be how we've ended up here. And of course, after claiming that caring about the wide receiver position was bitching, the season ultimately, beyond the turnovers, beyond the flubs on defense, beyond the anything, the season ultimately came down to throwing up a 40-yard strike to Brandon Cooks, who has been on the team for about 5 weeks, only to have him get the ball ripped out of his hands. Honestly, I am so tired about the discourse about whether or not it's an interception. Obviously, it was, even if it was an interception, you've called that a catch 99.9% of the time, and you arbitrarily decided to change it now, and you didn't want to review it. So what the fuck ever, man. Honestly, I feel bad for Bo Nix, but you can't say it's not karma for the NFL for, just absolutely shafting another team. But at the end of the day, Brandon Cooks should thank God every day that the discourse is about whether or not it was an interception, because, hey, man, how the fuck do you not catch that? It was direct. You had enough time to put both hands on it before the defender even made a play on it. For God's sakes, man. And that just gets the ultimate problem of, once again, you built an offense around running the ball, around Josh Allen being a superhero, and expected that to just work forever. Again, James Cook should also think that the Josh Allen discourse is eating up the room. Because not only did his fumble completely break the momentum of this game, we were about to go up 2 scores and basically control the terms. Instead, we're down a touchdown and scrambling for the rest of the game. To say nothing of the fact that basically after the 12-minute mark of the fourth quarter, his longest run was 6. The rest were 1, 1, 1, 2, 0, and -3. Again, hey, man, we're supposed to put you in the same category as Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. I just keep imagining when Saquon would literally called game 3 times leading up to that Chiefs Super Bowl game. I remember Derrick Henry basically saving the Ravens season 2 weeks ago, only to have it ripped away from him. Like, you can't play like that when you're supposed to be one of the best there is. Because for all the shit Josh Allen's going to get for these turnovers, granted, 2 of them are literally not his fault. There's literally nothing that can be done about getting blindside hit as you're throwing and your wide receiver not catching it. At the end of the day, he's the one who scored all the points. And I can't even be mad at the defense, frankly, because what are you supposed to do when you pay most of your money to a defensive end who's never gotten 10 sacks in his career, when you've spent a lot of money on a defensive tackle who has been hurt the entirety of the year, when your 2 major free agent signings tore his Achilles and is so bad he was a healthy scratch for 99% of the year, and you're dependent on Jordan Poyer and Trey White finding the fountain of youth. Like, I take umbrage with a lot of Bills fans being like, well, the offense had the ball to win the game and they didn't do it again. And I'm like, Yeah, well, at some point, you have to factor in the fact that all of our money is on the defense. Like, a defensive centric team should not have to, like, you shouldn't have to score 30 points to stay in games. And I know I'm going over my time. If I
Yeah.
may just have a few more minutes. On the topic of Josh Allen, I actually did homework for this episode, and I looked over the game logs for the playoffs for Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Joe Montana. Tom Brady, on his Super Bowl runs, on some of his Super Bowl runs, he had 3 interceptions against the San Diego Chargers in a game they won 24-21. He threw 3 interceptions against the Chargers again in a game they won 21-12. He threw 3 interceptions against the Green Bay Packers to win in that Tampa Bay season. He is on almost every single one of his Super Bowl runs. He had at least one multi-turnover game. Peyton Manning was really bad. We really forget how kind of bad he was in a lot of those Super Bowl runs. He had a 2 interception game against the Ravens where they won 15-6. And he basically was unplayable that last year in Denver, and they kind of just had to play him. He had 2 turnovers in his final game. They won 24-10. And it's also crazy how many one and dones he had. We really underrate that. But Joe Montana was the interesting one. On his first Super Bowl run, he threw 3 interceptions in a game. On his second Super Bowl run, he had a game with 3 interceptions and 2 interceptions. And on his final Super Bowl run, he ended up, this was when he played for the Chiefs. He threw 2 interceptions in a game they won against Houston, the Oilers, 28-20. And my point is, they keep showing these numbers about how efficient Josh Allen has been in the playoffs up until this game, how few turnovers he had. Even including this game, and even if you take away the 13 seconds game to make Nick Wright happy, he is averaging 5 touchdowns to 1 interception. And that's not even including rushing stats, because if you counted fumbles and rushing touchdowns, it would be even better, because he has way more rushing touchdowns than fumbles. And that is not, we act like that is something to celebrate, when in reality, it is a fucking condemnation of the Buffalo Bills that you are that dependent on your quarterback to be perfect 99% of the time to even stay competitive in the divisional round. Forget winning a Super Bowl. Basically, they built a system where it is just relax, dude. You basically have to be the best quarterback in the history of the sport for 4 straight games and not make a single mistake. And maybe, just once, our defense will get an interception to help you win the game, like what happened last week against Jacksonville. And I think that's what pisses me off so much about this game. Not that I kind of feel like this team wasn't good enough to win a Super Bowl. They weren't. But it kind of felt like destiny was on their side. Between the snow, between Josh Allen gutting it out, between the sort of vibes of this like ragtag group somehow punching above their weight class, and maybe selfishly I thought like they would do one nice thing for my dad as he goes off into the next life. God fuck me, they didn't do anything for the other 60 years, but you know what it was? It was Dan Orlovsky getting absolutely smoked on social media for pointing out that on that weird fumble at the end of the half, for some reason the Bills decide to try and run a play. Josh is running loosely with the ball. Hustle play by the Denver defense to force a fumble. His center had the ball in his hands and let it squirt out, which ends up being a 3-point swing. Dan Orlovsky just points out, like, hey, if the center just holds on to the ball like you're supposed to, that play wouldn't have mattered, and got lambasted as, like, glazing Josh Allen, as it were. And that's why football discourse has become so exhausting for me. Because in our quest to, like, center the quarterback, to make the quarterback the only topic of discussion, we just pretend the other 21 people on the field at any given time are NPCs who have no autonomy over whether or not what happens in the game. Like, it's like, oh, the quarterback is the only one who makes plays that matter, and everyone else is just a reflection of that. And it's just exhausting. I feel bad for Josh. I would cry too if I had to play this hard all the time, and it always somehow ends like this. And somehow I'm getting buried because I've had one bad game out of, 20? Like, he hasn't had a playoff game like this since, Jesus, literally his second year against the Houston Texans. That was like half a decade ago. And now we don't have a coach.
Yeah, you don't have a coach.
It's all over, man. It really is kind of incredible. Like I said, the Buffalo Sabres, up until this year, where they somehow rallied after firing their GM, have been an embodiment of mediocrity. Embarrassing behavior, like there was a particular moment where they invited a lot of old players from one of their conference title championships, and the jerseys were very clearly bootlegs because the names were wrong, misspelled, the numbers were falling off. It was truly humiliating stuff, and it's little things like that. So when they decide to fire Sean McDermott seemingly on a whim, there are basically two explanations for why this happened. Either Brandon Beane has quietly been making a power play. I assume it's somewhere in the middle of these two. Brandon Beane is pissed that Sean McDermott is like blaming him for the roster, so he makes a power play to get promoted and have more control over the roster. Or our sickly owner watched his quarterback get reasonably upset about a game they probably should have won and decides to fire a coach on a whim and then hastily releases a press release where they describe it as an admiral job. Admiral as in a naval captain,
Yeah.
mind you. Not admirable.
Yeah.
Don't fire your coach who people generally like and then give him a cool nickname on the way out.
Man.
Only the Buffalo Bills, only a Buffalo franchise could do a move that I think the majority of the fans would largely agree with. And not only do it embarrassingly, but also wait till the worst possible year to need a head coach to do it.
Yeah, it is a ice cold
Saludos amigos.
Now.
Yep.
Because they're like considering Philip Rivers.
I have a sneaking suspicion they want him as like the quarterback coach or the OC, but they can't tell Joe Brady he's fired yet. They're kind of I have to assume they want Joe Brady to take a job somewhere else so they don't have to fire him and still pay him.
Yeah.
But who knows, man. Yeah, that's all I got to say. Thank you for letting me run over.
I got you.
We don't have that much more to talk about, do we?
Not really. So, eliminated teams, as we've discussed all episode: Buffalo, Houston,
yes.
San Francisco, Chicago.
In terms of matchup, I would have liked to seeing the two teams who have been routinely haunted. Well, Buffalo, Chicago would have been fun. The old Josh Allen versus the new Josh Allen. But also, Buffalo and San Francisco, the Chiefs Victim Support Club, getting their chance to get a ring actually would have been very entertaining.
That would have been a very fun match. But that's also not the question of the week. The question of the week is revolving around coaches.
Yes.
So, fun fact, this upcoming Sunday is going to be the game of Sean's versus Mike's in the head coach spot.
Oh, yeah. Sean McVay versus Mike McDonald. And Sean Payton versus Mike Tomlin. Oh, right.
Not Mike Tomlin.
Or not before. Oh, my God.
Get out of here with that.
I'm literally forgetting his name right now. Sorry, the Steelers just announced Mike McCarthy as their coach, which is a hilarious sidestep. Yeah. Truly hilarious. What if Mike Tomlin had less personality?
Yeah, but the Patriots have a coach. Starts with V. Ends in Vrabel.
Vrabel. Well, because I always call him Vrabel. I forget his first name's Mike. Sue me. I'm an old man. That's 30, fair. For God's sakes.
There's a couple of first names that I do not know. Because
I'm just dusty as hell.
Do you not just go by your last name? Yeah, no, that's a little fun fact.
I appreciate you doing the homework on that.
Yeah, so updates on hirings and firings, as we've talked about. Apparently, yeah, it just came out that the Pittsburgh hired Mike McCarthy. Who was previously known for
being a Cowboys coach.
That's it.
Being a Packers coach.
I was like, why do I not know where he's from?
He won a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, kind of dejectedly ended up on the Cowboys, and has been out of the league for like a year or two. And gotta say, I'm so sorry, Pittsburgh Steelers fans. The entire selling point of finally moving on from Mike Tomlin was a fresh new vision. Maybe get someone go the route you went when you hired Mike Tomlin. Go young. Go
guy. He works there.
Yeah,
for
get a brainiac.
Years. I said it earlier in the Discord with our friends, where I was just like, they hired him. He's being put into like the most job secure spot of the entire NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers coach, because they've had 3 since the Super Bowls started, and that's like a 60-year thing. And I believe it's kind of Max that just goes, isn't he like 68? And I go, yep. Job security.
Right. It's so funny that they literally just like what if we got another like sort of guy whose time has long passed him? I'd be so mad. I just straight up would like I've made
That
a
would
quip
be
where like if they hire Dayball, I'm pivoting to the Bears for a bit. Like, what if that but worse?
yeah. No, that was a choice. Um,
Yes, a couple teams have made their hirings. Mike McDaniel is currently. It sounds like it's interesting because
it's
Flores and McDaniel, two of the hotter coach candidates. It looks like Flores is going to stay in Minnesota unless he gets a head coaching offer. Basically, they've made gentlemen's agreements where it's like you you have this job if you want it, but if you get a head coaching opportunity, we will not force.
we're not gonna.
You're not adhering to a contract.
Yeah,
Um, and Mike McDaniel is going to Los Angeles to work with Justin Herbert, which I think is actually a very fun pairing.
that's
I do think, yeah,
that. I kind of like that a lot. Out
right.
as an out of market fan, I mean, and somebody was hoping we'd get him to for the Eagles offensive coordinator, little butter, but like
Hmm.
I think that is a
He
very
kind of
fun duo.
Right. He kind of solves one of their big problems. Like, Harbaugh has clearly wanted to pivot to more of a run heavy offense, and they just haven't been able to do it, partially because the interior line's bad, but also injuries. And I do think, like, if there's one thing McDaniel's good at, is designing a really slick, cool run game. And I
Yeah,
think Hampton in that could be
I
really
think
good. And also,
I think that's a
oh,
great
God.
fit for him. No, that was really it.
Right. And Herbert, like, Herbert's often been a bit robotic in terms of like just following the play call to a T. I think that quick rhythm passing game might actually be a really good fit for him. It
Yeah,
is literally like what if Tua but better physical skills. I think that could be really fun. Honestly, if I'm him and I'm looking at the rest of the head coaching jobs, like unless Buffalo offers you a lot of money,
yeah.
I wouldn't even consider another job.
No,
I
that's
would just
probably the
cruise for
top
as an
spot.
offensive coordinator. Hmm. Well, I don't know, man. I don't know anymore. Um,
Yeah,
Arthur Smith is becoming the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. That's interesting.
that's fair.
Um,
Former
uh,
defensive coordinator for the Chargers is now Raven.
yes, a former member of the Ravens staff. He was there under Mike McDonald, which really does kind of underline sneaking suspicion that like a part of why they fired Harbaugh was this feeling of resentment that they probably should have kept Mike instead.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, I honestly think that's what drove the Bills to finally do this. Of like, maybe we should have kept Dayball as the head coach. Maybe it would be different. Like you just feel that bit like when you see someone else. Well, no, Dayball hasn't succeeded, but like you see your former defensive coordinator on the verge of a Super Bowl berth, and I feel like that just kind of like eats away at you.
hmm
So like, why not get the next best thing? One of his friends.
yeah.
The Dolphins hired someone who I've literally never heard of before, which is fun.
Let's do I have that on this page that I'm looking at? Robert Sala, coordinator for the uh, D coordinator for the 49ers this season. Former Jets head coach is now a Titan head coach.
That is a
I kind
genuinely
of
interesting one.
I think that's one of those ones where it's like I hate it but I like it.
Yeah,
I think they could
yeah, it's
I
you
think
kind
they
of
would
wanted.
benefit more for someone more offensy, but that's going to depend on if he's changing that room or not. If he's changing the
Mhm.
coordinator.
Right, you do. I mean, again, it's the problem of like all of the like good coordinate offensive coordinator options kind of want head coach are already answered for unless they get a head coaching job.
Yeah.
Again, it's like carrot, it's like celery and ranch, where it's like, do you really like celery or do you just want an excuse to dip something? Do
I
you want the
do.
dip and you just need something
No.
to justify it?
I genuinely like celery and I'm not a big ranch guy.
I do too. I don't know why I made that comparison, but
It was a choice.
um, but yeah,
Uh
but it is like the point is sometimes you just have to make an offensive coordinator your head coach just so you can get that system. But at the same time, Salah did a lot with a little in San Francisco, and it does kind of give the sense of like everyone kind of understands he got like kind of screw jobbed in New
New
York.
York, yeah,
So like
he got Aaron
give him a
Rodgers.
chance to build a culture here. Yeah, he got Aaron Rodgers, did.
I think he's gonna based off of their history and stuff, I think he's kind of going into that Saints spot last year
Mhm.
where it was kind of agreed upon that it's like, all right, Kellen Moore, you don't have to just produce right off the bat. we're
Mm.
just gonna we're gonna give you a
It's okay if
couple
we
of
just
years.
suck ass for a year or two.
Yeah, before
That's the plan.
they do that. And I think the Titans have been so low for so long that they can kind of get away with that with
Mhm.
Salah. Stefanski's a Falcon. Did we mention that yet?
Yes. Honestly, solid fit. In terms of like the best version of the Browns offense was Nick Chubb heavy. You already have that in place. Your skill
Yeah, you
position
got
group
Bijan.
is theoretically good depending on who you pay. And
I
it is
think
funny that he's gone to another place that is unsettled at quarterback, but
that was
like
going to be the thing. I think the quarterback room is going to be the who they pick for quarterback and how they work with him is going to determine if the Falcons feast or famine.
right. I think they have Kirk for one more year, and I think like genuinely after the debacles he's had to go through for a couple years, Kirk Cousins doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah, Kirk is. Mm-hmm. There, but I think that's really all of them. So now we're on the question of the week, which is there are 4 remaining head coaching spots. Which do you think is the most desirable? I mean, I feel like there's one logical answer in all of this, but the remaining spots are the Cardinals, the Browns, the Raiders, and the Bills. Honestly,
I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of leaning toward the Raiders. Like, and
really,
I'm not even trying to be an anti-homer, but I'm like, look, that was rock fucking bottom last year.
yeah. But they
Genuinely,
did.
if you
They
just get to
got rid
5
of Pete
wins, that's a
Carroll
win.
after one season. Granted, it was an atrocious season.
Yeah, and I'm saying 5 wins will keep your job. You have one good receiver, you have a good running back, and you're about to draft a quarterback who was like again, I'm not the biggest Mendoza guy, but like you can't deny he looked really fucking good in
He
that
looked
championship game.
pretty
His
fucking
ball
damn good.
placement is really good, and that run was one of the ballsiest plays I've seen in a long time. That's like an instant classic highlight. I'm willing to give him a shot. Like much like Cam Ward, I've warmed up to him, and I'm gonna give him a shot. And like I genuinely think if you just fix the offensive line even a little bit, I'm like, there's enough here. And even just the idea of like Frank Mendoza being mentored by Tom Brady, I'm like, okay, there's stuff here. This isn't a complete lost cause compared to the Browns, where you're like, we're still paying Deshaun Watson, or the Cardinals, who are so uninteresting, I can't even form a serious opinion about them. And the Bills, I don't know how you watch your owner basically say, my quarterback cried, so I fired our coach. And also, Keon Coleman was Sean McDermott's fault.
Yeah.
I don't know how you see that. And basically, like, you're being explicitly told, like, yeah, they fired Pete Carroll after 1 year, but it was a spectacularly bad year, and you're probably going to do better than that. Whereas the Bills have explicitly stated now, if you don't win a Super Bowl, we might have to fire you. Like, hey, a lot of people only get one shot to be a head coach. I don't know if that's the shot I'm willing to risk it on, knowing that at any given time, Brandon Cooks could just gank a ball out of his hands.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Anyway, Pete Carroll to the Bills.
That would be.
Be so
I don't even
wild.
know. Like, I don't even know what you get from that. What
Nothing.
do you? Nothing. He's a culture guy. You just got rid of the culture guy. Truly, that is just
No,
because
they
someone in the room really hated Sean McDermott specifically.
possibly hot take. I feel like the Bills need a young, like, I don't want to say a whimsical coach, but they need somebody like young that can make things happen.
Yeah, it seems like they're really waiting for the Rams and Seahawks to wrap up. I think like
I think that's the
I
case
know
for them.
yeah.
And honestly,
I know there's the whole pressure of like you got to get a staff ready, you got to get all these pieces moving. No. You cannot risk the next. You can't risk the end of Josh Allen's career rushing this decision. Um, the thing I hear about Kubiak is he's not much of a personality. He is kind of just like a guy. The Shula, obviously the Shula kid's an option, but yeah, well, the whimsical option would have been Mike McDaniel. Be like, hee hee, we stole your coach. But yeah, you need a complete culture
yeah,
change because you just said the culture
honestly,
wasn't good enough.
yeah. And Josh Allen has enough whimsy for the entire class.
I guess.
Pick,
Well,
give him,
I don't know.
give
I,
him,
I, I guess I appreciate that they're not even pretending we aren't just the Buffalo Josh Allens now.
yeah,
Maybe that's good.
give
Be
him a
honest.
just a real job, a real give a real adult in the position.
Boy, vey. What a
Um,
fucking disaster.
yeah.
Updated draft order. What is it?
Oh,
Let
I
me
don't.
look.
That was just a note from last year. I have no idea what it is.
Well, I know who I want the Bills to get because I'm assuming they're not going to have the balls to trade up for anyone. If they draft a defensive player, that's another one where I'm like, I'm just going to have to call someone and have them listen to my voice so I don't do anything drastic. Mekhi Lemon, the wide receiver from USC, is exactly what we need in terms of a Diggs-esque short guy. You know, Stephon Diggs might be a bit of a basket case who assaults his workers, but you can't say he didn't read this room correctly in terms of like, oh, this organization is a shit show who's not serious enough about winning. Can't say he didn't read the room correctly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Makai Lemon, he's a little on the shorter side. He's more of like a sharp route runner. He can play inside and out. He's exactly what we've needed as like a guy who can just get open against man, who can get open against zone, who gets open. He has 3 yards of separation for both man and zone, and like it is exactly what we need. And if he falls to even pick 15, you just gotta overpay to get up there. Unless you have some elaborate plan to like convince Brandon Ayuk to stop being crazy and also get AJ Brown.
Yeah.
Or pay George Pickens, but I don't think they're gonna let George Pickens leave Dallas.
No, I don't. I think they're gonna try and get him to stay as long as possible.
Yeah. He
That
was a
would
top
be
5 receiver. You have to pay him.
that would be a wild get for the Bills, though.
That would change. That's one of the handful of things because I just don't see the moves they can make this offseason. They don't have money. Like, they spent all the money. They're paying Dawson Knox, like, he's like their third biggest cap hit, even though he gets 2 targets a game.
Yeah.
You're paying, God, it's so depressing, man. At least the Eagles, it's like, well, if we get an offensive coordinator, it could be better. There's no light at the end of this tunnel, man.
Yeah.
Like, you spent the money on good players. We spent the money on bad players or mediocre players.
We spent the money on good players. You spent the money.
Yeah, that's it. That's a
End of
fair way
sentence.
to word it. Yeah, we spent the money. Well, that's mean. Dawson Knox was actually pretty good this year, but you cannot justify him being your
No. A tight,
third most expensive player.
a tight end at that position is kind of a nutso thing.
A tight end who's not even your second tight end.
Yeah. Anyway, next week, real simple. We have Patriots and Broncos at 3, Rams and Seahawks at 6:30. That's it.
Yes. Yep. I'm curious who you got.
Man, actually, I don't have enough invested enough in either of these teams to be like, oh, if this is gonna like I don't want to jinx them. I genuinely don't care. I'm thinking if it was Bo Nix, I'd say Broncos, but I'm gonna say Patriots versus Seahawks for the bowl. That's what I'm leaning towards.
That would be fun.
I think I think Bo Nix being out is the biggest factor in determining any of these games.
Mm. Yeah, that. A part of me just wants to see if the Broncos could pull it off, you know? But
Yeah,
on the other hand, I do think there would be something thematically exciting about the Seahawks Patriots running it back. Like, you know, so much of like what went wrong at the end of the Pete Carroll era was just this looming like bleh from that game of like being literally inches away from becoming a dynasty and losing it. And I think the only way you can really exercise those demons is to beat them. Just
yeah.
even if the players are different, even if the circumstance is
No,
different.
you just need it
If you beat
for
them,
the
it's all
titles.
freed. Exactly.
Like none of the like no, it's like not Tom Brady losing to Nick Foles or like things like that. It's like nope, the Seahawks beat the Patriots. And yeah, my final note on this whole thing is this might lead to the least interesting but the most football game.
Right. That is
Cuz
that is my takeaway from the Seahawks. They're a football team's football team.
yeah, like these like it's going to be like a all four teams are worthy enough that it's like this Super Bowl is it gonna be at least like it should theoretically be a decent enough game that it's not like you don't turn it on and go, why am I watching this? You turn it on, you have a couple of drinks, and you like, but you if you're out of market or not invested in any of these teams, you can just be like, it'll be good enough to watch that you're not wasting your night with it on the TV. You know,
Right. That's a good way of putting it.
it's it's a little bit it's a little bit more of in a primo spot. I mean, it's in a super primo spot because it's the Super Bowl, but like it'd be like any of these combinations for this game would make a great like week 15 don't sleep on game for the season.
Mhm.
But we're just gonna be put it in a game. All right, Carter, send them home.
Well, the theme for today's episode is destiny, a fickle thing. Someone you can get so convinced of, you know, you can get so convinced this is what your destiny is, or this is the moment of destiny, only to have it slip through your fingers, like a green light on the other side of the bay, ephemeral, hard to grasp. We have four teams left who actually could get that dream, who could grasp that light, and basically get immortalized, end up on the pantheon. We can quip about whether or not this is a good Super Bowl roster or not, but at the end of the day, that ring is real. Your name on your banner is real. Everything you've been working toward is down to 3 weeks, 2 games. Whether or not you can get Destiny is up to a million different things. Weather, the refs, the injury report, but every single player on that field is going to know. At the end of the day, whether it's true or not, they're the writers of their own destiny. Let's see how these pages turn out.